Do you think you know yourself? Think is the operative word, right? Okay. So when you think about, okay, tell me who you are, right? You're going to think where you come from. Well, I was born in whatever city you were born in. And I was raised in whatever religion, or I wasn't raised in. And I went to school and I have an education. All of these definers, right? That's what everybody in the culture of, in that earthbound mind, you're defined and you're believing, truly believing, because believing is nothing, nothing. Believing is nothing. Knowing is everything. Belief is based on memorization. Belief is based on what you were told. I mean, that's all it is. And so when you take a step back and you say, who am I? Let the other go. So the frequency of the world is shifting, and in many different areas, I would say. Many people who have gone through the dark night of the dark night of the soul over the last couple of years are actually reaching within and trying to elevate their awareness. And with that, even just one person seeking to find that light within, it will shine the light in all the darkness. At the same time, if you pay too close attention to the news and the goings on with the world, and if you get caught up in the chaos and the drama, that will lower your frequency. That will certainly not match the vibrational current of your eternal soul, and then you'll find yourself feeling a bit off balance. It's really interesting because right before I went live here, I was just waiting, having a little cigarette here. I was early. I've been trying to be a little bit more diligent and being on time and honoring myself, and in that way of when I set out to do something, really following through and keeping my own promises to myself and exercising that beautiful divine will and strengthening that will within, if you will, or strengthening my confidence to match that power within, if that makes sense. And just out of habit, right? Because over the last couple of years, being locked down in the COVID and being caught up in everything and locked in, oftentimes we would pick up our phone, right? Or I would pick up my phone to see what's going on, scroll down a news feed. I really wasn't thinking. And so back in the day, in order to kind of keep in the loop as far as what was going on in the world and also to my community, I simply would go news.google.com. And something I've really refrained from and pulled back from over the last little while to really recenter myself and step away from all the chaos and the drama of the world. But so I was scrolling through the goings on in the news, and I stopped real quick and I'm like, what am I doing? It's mindless. I'm not even thinking. Here I am fixing to go live with our spiritual community, and I'm scrolling down the Google News feed. What? So that was very much, I quickly changed the channel, which I applaud myself in that way where I'm actually beginning to become a little bit more consciously aware of the soul within and the diligent work, really wanting to elevate and to awaken back to true self. It does take a bit of discipline. And again, I'm going to repeat the word awareness and self-awareness as to holding oneself accountable as to the activities that are kind of like that muscle memory. We go about our day-to-day life, and our mind just wanders here, there, and everywhere. And there's not a whole lot of discipline. It's really willy-nilly, not organized. And our thoughts really do create powerful manifestations in the energy fields around us, but yet we're not minding those thoughts. We just allow it to just take on a life of its own. And then we wonder why we wake up in a world of depression and grief and sorrow. And it's because the mind, which is, I've referred to the human mind often as, especially that low vibrational, that low frequency, as that earthbound state or what one would call the egoic mind as well, is one and the same. And when we come into this physical incarnation, almost immediately, coming into this very low frequency here on Earth, which is the lowest frequency realm in all creation of all the universes. And so, yay, us, we decided to come in and really expand our growth pretty quickly. Coming into this Earth experience will do that. Any and everybody who comes here, there is an elevation to that soul's growth pretty quickly. It's rapid, like boom, because it's so intense here in the physical, in this very low frequency realm, where so low, in fact, that we forget who we truly are and where we actually come from. And so we go about our day-to-day life. We're born into this realm, at this very low frequency realm, and unaware of the soul within, truly. And it was designed that way, so that way we could remember ourselves and come back to ourselves and come back to that awareness. And also, to living in limitation is super important, why we come here, because we are limitless beings to begin with anyway. But coming into this earth realm is quite the challenge, in actually experiencing what limits are. Because as eternal beings, we do not experience limitations at all unless we come here to the earth realm. And also to free will and separation from all that is. And not that we don't, not saying we don't have free will in eternity, but it is free will with that spice of egoic mind or earthbound state of really going and separating from that true self, or coming back to that true self. But we come into this very dark, dense, low frequency, low vibrational current earth plane realm, if you will, dimension, whatever we want to call that. And just immediately there's a forget, because our soul is eternal. We're not, though we come into a physical body, to say a newborn, we're a newborn in that newborn coat, if you will, it's still the eternal soul. And so you can see that there is that instant forget, right? And then we have to grow and learn how to talk and be taught what we need to believe. And we're heavily influenced by those who are around us, our parents, our siblings, whatever sort of religious organization or not religious organization. We're taught how to think. And again, separating us from that true self. And so everything here in the earth realm is memorized. And as to what the beliefs were of those who came before us. And so that in and of itself makes it very complicated and a very challenging incarnation. So who knows what we're going to be fed? Who knows what we're going to, well, we do know before we come into this physical life, actually, what we're going into and the challenges, and we put them. So everything that we experience here, well, everything, let me back up a little bit. Major points of power, experiences in our life that are great challenges. We wanted these roadblocks to grow and expand. And so that happened. So we know when we came into the family that we came into, that it would present particular challenges, and everybody is with challenge when they come into the physical, and that separation from know thyself, right? So it's very easy to, when you've lived enough life in that state, as we started out that way, you're told how to think, you're told how to talk, you're told and taught what your beliefs are. It's like we raise our children, right? We train our children. We ourselves were children. We were raised. It doesn't matter. One way or another, as a child, we were heavily influenced by someone and their belief systems. And there are very few people who came into this physical life that actually were born into a life where their parents were evolved enough to understand that it is the soul that powers the body. So it's more likely than not, here in the earth realm, you're going to be born into an experience that was created by culture, history, um, just the way things are. And whoever started some sort of tradition, how many moons ago, we plop right into that, and we assume that position without question. Because it's just the way it is. As far as our remembering goes, our mind, okay, this is, I can remember far back as, right? People, we would say this. I can remember far back as I was 4 years old or 5 years old, or certain rememberings of that, and so really limiting to that earthbound, egoic, the thought mind rather than the soul mind of, well, I'm an eternal being, and truth be told, we've had thousands of past lives, not just here in the earth realm as well, but this is such a dense, low frequency environment that it is designed to where we will forget. When we come down to this pea soup of negativity and chaos, and it's so very, very interesting. So easy to get lost in that what I called muscle memory earlier. Just that way of living that we have adapted and adjusted to from the time we came in and took our first breath. So this is my way of saying it takes a tremendous amount of discipline when you do truly want to unfold and understand that divine wisdom within, and really stop and think for a moment that who you are, a fractal of God, a spark of the divine, a piece of divine creation of all that is within you. That is what powers you. That is who you are. Who am I? That is who you are. Think about that for a moment, and just sit there for a moment and realizing that when you get to the core and the beauty of the soul with the spirit within, and with that truth, you'll know that you are not broken. You do not need help. You do not need fixing. You are perfected. And it's just coming back to that space. And I don't know if you can see, but I'm right here, right this heart area, heart and soul, y'all, heart and soul, back to that space, that soul center, that beauty of who you are. And if you take the time to really stop, breathe, center back here. The first step is you need to get out of your head and all the thoughts, and really quiet the environment around and forget that you know anything. In fact, it's really important to actually say, I don't know anything and I don't care. I don't know anything and I don't care. It doesn't matter, right? Because that's the ego earthbound mind of, well, this is what I know, and this is how this works, and this is what I've learned, and my intelligent mind tells me this, and cause and effect, and in the earth realm, if this happens, and that's going to happen, and looking around, and next thing you know, your mind's like all aflutter and going here, there, and everywhere. You're up here. You're in this space. Because you're so smart, you've endured a lot, you got a lot of wisdom, you've had a lot of hard knocks, all hell's broken loose, you've thought your way out of it. Chaos. And then you'll continue to feed that earthbound mind, that human mind, lack of soul. You'll continue to pump it up. You'll continue to tell yourself that you know everything, and therefore continuing and perpetuating that mindset of I know it all, or I've been there, and that just keeps looping and looping. And but yet here you sit, still troubled, still depressed, still in that grief, still missing something, right? Well, that something is that eternal being, that joy and the bliss within. And so if you just turn it off, disconnect your mind, your eyes, your brain, separate, simply observe the world around you in the now. Everything comes and goes. Everything comes and goes. Sure, you have a past, or at least you think you do, but it's not now. And so does it really matter? And so really see that yes, it does affect you, and it's important to process through and work your way through the hurt, understand it, but also to then in that state of beingness and perfection. And knowing that who you truly are is untouched, is perfected, is 100% limitless in all ways, shapes, and forms. When you really sit and reside in that space, that silence, just right here, disconnecting thought, just forget you know anything. Really forget you know anything. I know this is it's challenging because right out the gate, your mind, your egoic mind, that earthbound mind, that which you've been trained forever, will step in and it's battle on. There is because the minute you come to self, really ascend in the frequencies in that way, in that elevation of that vibrational current, and really match up with your mind and your soul, where the hell is the ego going to go? It's a battle. It's got to be right. It's got to know everything because all of these experiences you've had in this lifetime have to mean something. That's the egoic mind. That's the earthbound mind. That is separating you from self and that true divine eternal being that you are. the the untouched pure beauty of love, bliss, and wisdom. You have all the knowledge of all within. But that's how powerful the earth state is here, and that's how powerful the human mind is. And it was created and designed that way to actually create that contrast and to create that experience of limits. And so there's no wrong way to live life here. And really take off the judgy hat. And those who are going through dark nights, or those who you look at and say, wow, they really need to be fixed and they really need to be helped and they really have a problem. That is you separate from self, because in truth, everything's exactly the way it's supposed to be. That is the mission and purpose of that being, of that soul, of that sentient, to experience that chaos or to create the contrast for us, right? And so when you come to that space of knowing that soul within, the soul within, the soul within self, the soul within others, and trust me, there's the soul within others. There's that being. Everything's created of all that is, of God, of source, of beauty, whatever you want to call that, which created all that is. This microphone, this phone. Think about this. Everything of earth and all of this which you are experiencing and all creation is created in and of the divine. And so there is nothing really truly artificial. Everything is of that energy and of that source. But that's what we experience here in the physical realm. It is very interesting, and that the frequency and the vibrational current is so low, and we're here in the physical, like the physical, like slow, dense. But in truth, when you raise your frequency and the vibrational current, this truly isn't solid. You could see through it. You could see through a wall. Everything has that energy. Anyway, so that's self, and that's the unlimited source within everyone. But that battle of that, the mind, which again, this was all by design. We did come into this life really desiring and wanting to experience that limit, but also too, depending upon your lives and the incarnations and how do we put this? The lessons that you wanted to achieve, the growth that you wanted to achieve. And that's why I say take off the judgy hat, because just because somebody, so if you're looking at somebody in your life or who you know of or whatnot, and if you are like, wow, they are lack of presence, they are lack of spirit, and they are a young soul and they don't know diddly squat, you might be incorrect in that maybe that particular soul actually made the decision to come into this physical incarnation this time around to to actually experience a massive load of lack and limit. And though they too could be a very evolved soul, though wanting to come in and experience that, are also to wanting to come in and create a contrast. And so it's like I said, take off the judgy hats. And ask me how I know. I'm working on this. So I'm sharing with y'all. Remember how I've always said, come join me on the incredible spiritual journey. That's what I'm all about here. And 2024, in case you missed it, is a biggie for me. And that transformative state. We all go through periods of time in our life where there's that dark night of the soul, and then there's a great awakening. And then we go through lessons again and hit that dark night of the soul to that great awakening again, more lessons, the dark night to that awakening. And each and every time that we go through that experience, we elevate our awareness. We elevate our awareness. We come back to center again. And when we hit the dark night, it's not like we can go from the dark night straight up to where we were before we hit that dark night. So falling in frequency and awareness can happen at any time, anywhere, any place, to anybody. Does not matter. Do not shame yourself in that. Life happens, and because of beliefs formed in from childhood on up, and that great battle in that mind between the mind and the soul, there's a lot of chaos that goes on, and it's difficult because there are people in and around your life that heavily influence, and we're not an island of ourselves, and so it can be quite complicated. But we don't just drop to rock bottom like that. It is a natural little progression, step by step, down by down, step by step, as we lower our frequencies when we hit that dark night of the soul. And so even though we are aware that it's coming and things that are happening in our life, but we get footloose and fancy free and pick up the phone and scroll down the news feed, not even thinking about it, that's one step down in frequency, right? It's one step down. And it happens like this, like a thief in the night. You don't even know it comes in. And so once you hit that darkness, and really what that dark night of the soul really truly is actually disconnecting from that soul self and really being heavy in that earthbound state, that of the earth, and that much of the mind and what people would call the ego mind. And when you have that total separation, so that egoic self is separate from that soul self, that's where you really can find that very dark time. And so once you do hit that darkest of dark, and you realize you cannot suffer it any longer, there's only one way to go but up. Step by step, again, you make your journey and elevate once again the frequency, the energies, clean up the energy field around you. So it's not as though you have arrived. So I'd say 3 years ago, maybe you arrived, but then you were reckless and careless and just allowed and were complacent with your spiritual health and well-being, and just allowed that slow decline to happen. And you give yourself that excuse for, well, life is really hard, or I had a lot of deaths, or it's been unfair. There's just business has been, shitty and shoddy and such like that. You could look at and blame other things outside of yourself, not recognizing that it's that vibrational frequency, or that lack of that soul mindedness that actually created that, again, little by little by little, and that careless and reckless behavior, and allowing that frequency to drop again. Then you must pick up as you wake back up out of that dark night of the soul, meaning that the shadow of your ego is so intense that it blocks the light of your soul. This is what, and we do it to ourselves. Well, it is by design too as well. I'm going to repeat myself an awful lot throughout this session tonight, but we do come in to experience this great contrast. It really is true. There's nothing that we can do wrong. Everything here is in divine order and will be. And if you are listening to this, and if you are a part of me, I'm a part of me. Well, we are a part of everybody. But if you have joined me on this glorious, beautiful spiritual journey, you too are one in that soul-minded state of really wanting to get back home within. And so I guess one of the main messages here is to really guard the energies, um, truly be that guardian of what comes in, what goes out, how to stay centered. And when you start feeling too much chaos and too much stress and too much energy, and self-pity, which self-pity is poison, it's depression, because it is not who you are. When you go to that center and point of who you are simply joy, love, wisdom, purity. So who you are, who am I? When you go to that space, you quiet your mind, because when you ask that question and you look at the events, the points of power throughout your life, points of power could be the birth of the child, the death of the child. That's an example, a great loss or a great achievement. But mostly though, those of us here, you have the egoic mind, the earthbound mind stays more focused on the trials, the tribulations, and that suffering. And I will be talking an awful lot about suffering in the weeks to come. I'm unfolding The Great Within. It's a spiritual unfoldment. And I have, if you've gone to PamelaTheresa.com recently, you will see that I have absolutely been working and creating and really making that shift this year for me to fulfill my mission and purpose and the spiritual work that I'm doing. So absolutely, there will be courses in the spiritual library that I've talked about too as well. And it's most important to, when you make a promise to yourself to do something, that is all about that soul's will. Before you make a promise to yourself that you'll do something, no matter what it is, whether it's cleaning up the bathroom or vacuuming the living room or going to the store to get a gallon of milk, whatever it is, hold yourself to that promise. And before you make the promise, make sure it's something that you can follow through with. So that's very important too. So it's my way of sharing with y'all that I have been making promises to myself. And there is something very powerful about that, a commitment to self as to what I want to do for my mission and purpose. And it's in every little thing that we do every day, a little by little, that step by step by step. That's how we can raise that vibrational current, that frequency, that frequency, that energy that will match, which is super interesting, which is why we feel so off balance often, is because if we're stuck in our head, if we're stuck in that state of belief in what we've been taught and everything we've memorized and all the experiences of our life and all these points of powers that have a powerful effect on us, or at least we think they do, because everything comes and goes, right? But we get stuck on the trauma and the pity and the panic and the grief, and we get stuck in that, and then we allow it to define us, and that is not who we are. That's not who we are in truth. And so it's very, very important that I'm going to be repeating this with y'all again and again and again to help you. If I'm not going to help you, I'm going to serve you. And you'll have to serve yourselves. I can't fix you, because there's nothing to be fixed when you come back to center and separate from all of the chaos of the earth realm, and you come back to center. And so now, working with the spirit world and really coming to self again is an active thing, and diligence is very important to, like I was talking about, I'm holding myself to my promises. And as I am the Remember You course, I was working on it last night too as well, working on the website last night, working on the spiritual courses. But the Remember You course it's really going through a rebirth. And it's Remember You 2024, because I am in a different place. I am where I am now, and where I was when the spirit world delivered it to me back in the day, it's different from where I am now. And so it really is being elevated in that way that will match. So I'm talking about, when I talk about the frequencies or the vibrational current of our soul is set. It is perfected. There's nothing to fix. There's no need to help. It is set. We are who we are. We are perfect. Truly, truly, truly. However, with that mind state, that ego mind, that earthbound mind, that right there is the frequency. Where are we now? Living in this, the physical body's the cope for the soul at such a high frequency, right? The thought at at that high vibrational current, rather, the soul is such a high vibrational current, the soul that powers the body, that creates everything. The thought, the egoic mind, the earthbound mind, that is the frequency. So here you have within you the highest vibrational current, the perfected, and the mind most of the time going at such a low frequency. So you don't have a match. So here's the soul, here's the mind, and there's a battle going. Well, the soul's not battling. Well, the ego's battling. The ego's battling. And so that's why there's this disconnect between mind, soul, body. That's why there is that feeling of discomfort. When you can match the frequency of thought to the vibrational current of your soul, that's where you can ascend. And that's what the ascended masters, the angelic realms, that's the pure form of spirit. And being able to achieve that whilst here in the physical body is something that we actually came here to try, because it's kind of like a game and a competition, because we're like, I'm doing it this time. Why do you think we incarnate so many freaking times? Because each and every time we come out of it, we're like, well, I didn't quite master that. And I need that lesson too. And I'm going to have to go back in. I am quite aware of this. Pamela, that I was named Pamela, right? Okay, in this incarnation. But my soul is certain, is eternal, right? Y'all know me as Pamela Theresa. And even a name will not define us, right? Names come and go, don't they? But the soul stays. But I have been very much aware throughout my life, this physical life, that I've wanted to achieve that state of awareness whilst in the skin. And though the complications of it. So the reason why I can talk so much about the egoic mind, the earthbound mind, is I'm in the physical body suffering that as well. And also trying to elevate my awareness, trying to clean up the thoughts, that's why the spirit world guided me to create the Remember You course. I mean, that's been in the works for 18 freaking years. And I finally released it, of course, during COVID. I mean, it was the 2019. And yeah, so the words of spirit came through, but also too, that's why I say there's a rebirth of the Remember You course. And that's why I hold your horses, because it's coming. Because whilst I was actually creating and putting it together, there I am finding now that my frequency is closer matching the vibrational current of my soul. I am spotting areas of the Remember You course where the words are solid of the spirit world, but I can see where there can be a refinement and the energies, actually, really truly the energies of the COVID years. um I think that plays a part, because energies are everything. So there's not going to be a whole lot of changes, but there will be a rebirth and a refinement and an elevation of the frequency too. Anyway, I'll be adding more to it, because as I grow and as I release so much of the earthbound state, then I come back to self. Then I can deliver as that spiritual teacher on the higher awareness, and put it together in a more refined space and more of that rebirth and process, if you will. So that's what I've been up to. And also to that discipline of getting up and moving and actually knowing that whatever it is that I deliver, okay, that is of me, of my soul, and connected with the spirit world and delivered through the spirit world, it is perfect just the way it is, without trying to softball it. So the original Remember You course, what I did was um the writings of the spirit world was in there, but also too, everybody was at such a low frequency. I really did try to pad it up to the audience, if you will. So what you'll find in my works and what I'm delivering now, starting with 2024, is unvarnished, um, and not softened up in that way, not reduced down to try to hopefully reach those whose frequency might not be there. You see, that was my egoic mind in thinking that somebody needed to have the words changed so they would understand it. So we are all working our way through. I am too as well. And so I know that as I deliver it, those who are at that in that same space or that space of receiving it, it will work. And if it doesn't work, that's not my problem. So many years I've been a servant to the spirit world, and it's so easy to get lost along the way because that egoic mind will be, okay, the burden is great because it's my task to deliver this and to help. And people often come to me, please fix me. And and it's easy to get stuck in that trap and that cycle of that gotta fix, gotta help, rather than and really confusing it as it's service, but it's not service in that way. Pure service and service of the soul is knowing that everyone is perfect, beautiful, solid, seamless, limitless within. And it is simply my task as one who serves to, as I've said, for many years, it's my job to put the medium out of business in that way that everybody has a connection and communication with the spirit world. Is just coming to that awareness. And the spirit world has been for decades saying, know thyself and all will be revealed. Know thyself and all will be revealed. Know thyself is to know thyself. So do you think you know yourself? Think is the operative word, right? Okay. So we need to think about, okay, tell me who you are, right? You're going to think where you come from. Well, I was born in whatever city you were born in. And I was raised in whatever religion, or I wasn't raised in. And I went to school and I have an education. All of these definers, right? That's what everybody in the culture of in that earthbound mind, you're defined and you're believing, truly believing, because believing is nothing, nothing. Believing is nothing. Knowing is everything. Belief is based on memorization. Belief is based on what you were told. As you, I mean, that's all it is. And so when you take a step back and you say, who am I? Let the other go and go with them. Because as you are an eternal being, the hospital that you were born in, the family that you were raised with, the location and the houses that you've lived in, the cars that you've driven, that's nothing. It does not define you. That is not your story. It is not. It is an experience to grow, to evolve, and you take that growth, that wisdom, because who we are is simple love, knowledge. We all have talents, we all have gifts, we all have a uniqueness about us, that divine uniqueness, but it has nothing to do with and any of this here. This goes, this stays here. What happens on earth stays on earth. The feeling, the wisdom, the knowledge, that's what we take with us. That's what we expand out into the universe. This is not the year and make and model of. No. And in truth, nothing new under the sun. Nothing new under the sun. Nobody creates anything new here. No. So nothing here on earth truly belongs to us. It truly doesn't, except for the experiences and that love and that wisdom and that takeaway, that beauty of of what we learned, how we grew, and that expansion. What that means is it's not necessarily going to be airy fairy flowers dancing through the tulips. So the greatest lessons of our existence have come through contrast. And that's the expansion of all that is, that contrast. And of course, like I've said for years, we're not martyrs. We're not wanting to be martyrs anyway. I know I'm not, but life does happen. And just because you go to that space and that I am and that knowledge of who you are does not mean that there aren't going to be obstacles, experiences, points of power throughout your life. So long as you're here in the physical soul, so long as you're taking a physical breath, that is an opportunity for growth. There's always going to be that opportunity for growth. As such, the opportunity for growth too can also mean, on the contrast of being in joy and bliss at the same time, whilst living in the darkest, lowest frequency of all realms of all of creation. And so even that right there can be an absolute expansion all the way around, which just touch all of creation too, as well, as we expand that way. So how do you identify yourself? Detach from identifications, detach from, enjoy the beauty that life brings. I enjoy the fact that I have this camera and that I have this computer and I have this microphone. I enjoy the fact that we can connect in this way. But to know that even if this all went away, I am still who I am. I am still complete without it, you see. That's the point. That's the way you can raise that frequency and really, so enjoying without connecting and without losing your mind if something changes, right? Well, actually, we do want to kind of lose our mind. We want our mind to calm and quiet so we can hear that soul within. And how you can simply, and this, you can simply detach by observing the events. We're not in denial, you see, but we're observing what has happened. But stay centered in the now whilst observing your life, and bring that energy. So you have all this energy here. Woo, man, I tell you, thinking, chaos, paranoia, cannot, whoa, panic, stress, anxiety. And your mind keeps on going. I got to fix it, got to fix, got to fix, got to fix, got to fix, got to fix. And soon you're kind of like out of your body. Just take that moment, breathe. Just bring that energy. Ooh, just feel it just slowly coming down and centering in the solar plexus region where your energy, that life force energy, resides. So if you have all the energy up here, you're going to be off balance. And chakras are a thing. So remember the Remember You course. There's a lot of chakra work in there too as well. Those of y'all who have done it, you see, it's very, very important there. So you just basically just stop, look, and listen. Just me, I'm just my home. It's just like I've asked the spirit world in times past, when things start going chaotic, give me that vision, real quick vision of that stop sign. And that will wake me up. I just like, stop, and just stop moving your body, stop. And realize everything is going on up here. You can't fix anything. No, truly. We are fooled into thinking that we're fixing things. But once we fix the problem, we found the solution, right? We fix it, another one pops up. We're busy creating problems to fix problems, rather than simply observing and being and enjoying. And once you can stop and shut this, whew, then that soul, the divine, that creative, you don't even have to think. It's very interesting. It's just that creative being, who you are, that spark of the divine just bubbles up, and that knowing, you know what to do. You feel what to do, that gift to feel. You feel the direction. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So learning how to actually discipline yourself in that way, keeping promises to yourself, and understanding that will and that force and that beauty is so very important. So very important. So tomorrow when you wake up, and if you made a little plan for yourself, try to hold yourself to the promises that you made. And moving forward, when you promise yourself and you're setting goals and you lofty and whatnot, or whatever it is, take a step back before you make that commitment, and be very gentle and kind to yourself in that, am I pushing myself too hard and trying to get all of this done? Or am I actually escaping my life and not doing anything and waiting for something to happen? Because being here in the physical life requires the physical action to get things done too as well. Although, if you can be in that peaceful state whilst even completing your mission and purpose, and with that song in your heart, with that hop in your step, the creativity, the beauty, all of that, it's just so much more. It can be easy or it can be hard. It depends on how you want it to be. So you make your mind up as you go. And it's so much about the thought and okay, this is how it's going to go. I'm going to rule it. I'm going to control it. I can beat it this time. And so that's, again, absent from self, absent from knowing, right? So there's a great battle that goes on between that egoic earthbound mind, really truly not wanting to lose, not wanting to be dissolved. And you understand, we go back to what defines you. How do you describe yourself to people? I know when I came out of the closet, I just really didn't want to be titled medium. Because for me, I've always had spirit communication. It's my awareness that everybody has spirit communication. And I really didn't like having to have a title, but I had to in order for people to understand the work that I do and the service that I perform, right? So, but it doesn't define who I am, because in truth, we are all one. We are all medium then, because medium is direct communication with the spirit world. And truth is, everybody does. But as this is my mission and purpose, and that gift of which I chose to have opened before I came into this incarnation, that was a choice that I made to evolve in my growth, spiritual growth, was to be more open to that spiritual realm. And there's not a wrong way or a right way. Those beings who come into this, those souls who come into this physical life where they do not have much awareness of the spirit world around them, it's because it was designed that way. They wanted to experience that separation. So it's not wrong either way you look at it. Anyway, so it's hard to describe who we are, except for we are absolute perfection. We are that of creation. We are limitless. We have that beautiful spark of the divine. When you really stop and go to that space, you see it, you feel it, you know it, and go there, because moving forward in this week, y'all, it will seem a little bit different when you'll notice the mind chatter. You'll start to notice that. Be observant of it. Be observant of these mindless things that you do, and stop, look, and listen, and go, wow, why, like I said earlier today, why did I pick up my phone and start scrolling through the news feed? Am I trying to sabotage myself? What is happening here? So I'm dissecting it. I'm becoming aware of, and well, seriously, that is not something I want to experience. And obviously, I'm just not thinking, pun intended. Maybe I'm thinking too much, but obviously I'm unaware of what I'm doing. We walk through our life because so much of our life is memorized. So much of our life is memorized. And it was done before we were even 7 years old, everything pretty much. I mean, we were potty trained, we were taught how to get dressed, all of that, right? It's almost been like that remote control, just like go, go, go. Let's see here. Our medium, let's see here. Lisa's saying our medium is the use of our physical body and bringing forth our spiritual into the physical for ourselves and others. The ultimate challenge. Our medium is the use of our physical body and bringing forth our spiritual into the physical for ourselves and others. The ultimate challenge. I love that. That's why I'm rereading it. I love this writing. Thank you, Lisa. Is the use of our physical body and bringing forth our spiritual into the physical for ourselves and others. Right. Yes, the physical body is that tool to do so, right? Amen. Brilliant. That's why I stopped. Whoop, I gotta read it. I can feel that's something I want to read. That's the sort of information I would like to bring to my awareness. So thank you. Thank you, Lisa. So that's the task for this week that I'm working on. Come join me on the incredible spiritual journey. I'm working on really becoming more aware of what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, going back to remember you, the point of power. You go back and back and back and back. Okay, why is that a trigger for me, right? That's the trigger, point of power, whatever it is. Why does that affect me emotionally? Okay, why? See, the problem is when we're so stuck in all of these memories and all these points of power and all these triggers and all these griefs, we are seriously stuck, and that affects our every now, and our every now becomes muddled with the past and not living in the present, and we really truly are mostly functioning on past experiences. And so whenever we create a suffering experience here in our life, well, we put that on a nice little tidy shelf that we can pull out, plop in front of ourselves, and then actually our egoic mind, our earthbound self, that that suffering self can enjoy in that darkness, if you will. So that egoic mind, that earthbound self, if the best way to put it is actually does enjoy in the suffering. Okay, but that's not real. That's not truly who we are. The being of which we are, who we are is true joy, true bliss. I know I'm repeating myself, but it really is what it is. And no matter what, you know that everything is okay, no matter what. So these physical experiences, they come and they go. They come and they go. Oh, I said, but you're in the moment of that trauma. You think, wow, this is the everything. But don't you notice? Years later, it's gone. It's so, but we carry it with us. Like, well, we got a whole pantry full of it, right? Here's this trauma, here's that trauma, here's that one, that one. And we pull it out to please ourselves in a way, separating us from that beautiful divine being. And instead of observing particular experiences, observing it, not being the victim in it, but observing it and understanding there's a separation between who we are and these events. Taking from these events the wisdom, the knowledge that has been gained, the learning, the raising the frequencies of that awareness. So going through these extremely powerful moments, and also being able to step back and look at them and the growth and the knowledge and the awareness, coming back to self. Remember, you coming back to self. Then that event can seriously just dissolve. Just dissolve. Take the wisdom, let go of the rest, move forward, and amen. We're good. So anyway, keep a good eye on that mind. Keep a good eye on what you're doing when you're not thinking, right? And look at, is this good for me? And why am I doing this? And how do I feel when I do this? Am I feeling better now or do I feel worse? Mm, did that feel good? After. So leading up to the event, how do you feel? Experiencing the event, how do you feel? After the event, do you feel better for it? Stick to the things and these activities that you know are in the flow of who you are, that vibrational current of your soul. Stick to those things if at all possible. And also to, if you're engaged in activities or life responsibilities that are not something you enjoy doing, start. These are the areas where you truly would want to find a solution to have more joy. And so to try to eliminate those. But again, it takes a little bit of time to shift and change because we are in this very low vibrational current here in the physical realm. Really, truly, things move slowly. So our heart's desire is we know what we want, but we have to, in this dark, with all of those around us and the free will of everybody else, it will take a little bit of time to pivot and shift, because that's why you have a little bit of impatience, because the truth is our divine being, who we are, it's lickety split. That's who we are. And that's why, well, experiencing limit here in the physical, what some would call lesson in patience, that too, I believe, and I would submit, is of the egoic mind, a lesson in patience, because patience means extended suffering, truly. So that's a little teaser for next week's show. We're going to be talking about suffering and how to alleviate and identify what causes the suffering, the point of power, where was suffering birthed from. So I look forward to that conversation. I love you all so very much. Thank you for engaging in the chat tonight. And I've really been focused on the connection here. I love you, Sarah. I love you, Lisa and Judy. Thank you all so very much. And I look forward to connecting with y'all. Keep an eye on the newsfeed here and on the mediumandtheraw.com because I can't promise when, but it is happening. You've got some beautiful spiritual courses coming your way, but Tuesdays are really good. So proud of you and your evolution, Pamela. I love you too, Sarah. I'm proud of each and every one of you and your evolution too as well. Hi, Ruthie. I love you. Mwah. Okay, y'all. Nighty night. You know, I don't need to have a 10-hour good night, so I'm just going to say nighty night if I can figure out how to stop my life here. Mwah. I love you all so very much, and have a most beautiful week. Keep it rolling, y'all. Keep it rolling.